and this is a head-to-head card battler where one player is going to be playing as the humans and then one player is going to be playing as the non-humans. And each player is going to have their own deck of cards, but there are a couple types of cards that you can find in the deck. There are the hero cards as well as the item cards, and the hero cards are going to have each character's health points, attack and defense values, the distance that they can attack, as well as their cost. And the interesting thing in this game is that the way that the cost works in order to play these cards is that you're going to be discarding cards from either your hand or from your deck. And on the surface, this might not sound that punishing, but you also need to know that any of the cards that you discard this way go into a separate pile from the cards that you lose in combat. And when your main deck runs out of cards and you need to reshuffle your discard pile, you're actually only going to get one of those discard piles back, so some of these cards are going to be permanently removed from the game. And as I said, these aren't all hero cards. Some of these are item cards as well, and you'll be using these to upgrade any of the hero cards that you currently have in play. These could have special abilities or upgrade certain stats, and they might have different effects depending on which character you attach them to, because each of the characters does also have a type of character that they are classed as, and these different classes come into play with the different abilities that might be available for them or the type of other enemies that they're able to attack. Players are always going to start their turn with a hand of 5 cards, and they're going to be taking turns playing one card from their hand and then playing it onto the main board. There's 5 different lanes on the main board, and one thing to be aware of is each of these cards can have a number of swords at the top left corner of the card. This means that if the card only has 1 sword, then it can only attack the card directly across from it. But if, say, it had 3 swords, then it could attack across from it, but then it can also attack one to the left or one to the right. And this is just going to give you a little bit more versatility when it comes to the combat phase. And the combat phase begins once both players are no longer able to play any of their cards, or they just choose to pass, not playing any more cards that they have in their hand. And during the combat phase, you're going to be going down each of these lanes, activating any of the cards that you have in play within those lanes, and then they're going to be simultaneously attacking them. So you're going to be comparing their attack and defense values, considering any abilities or modifiers, and then issuing out the damage. And of course, if you take more damage than the health points you have available, then that card is going to be removed from the board and added to their discard pile. And of course, to win, you have to bring down your opponent's hero's health down to 0. And like I said, as you're playing cards out onto the main board, you're going to be discarding cards in order to do that. This of course means that your available pool of cards is going to be gradually getting smaller and smaller. And if you run out of enough cards that you're not able to replenish your hand before you defeat your opponent, then you automatically lose the game. So if this one sounds interesting to you, you can check out the Kickstarter page linked down below, and of course you can click to get notified.